Hello, everybody. I am Jessica Koch, your host of Profound Professionals, and I have had the joy and honor of featuring amazing industry leaders from all over the world for the last 5 years. And today, our guest with us is Dianna Carr, and she is a nutrition coach, a personal trainer, and the founder of Be Well Health Coaching. So, welcome today, Dianna.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. This is so much fun for me. It's one of my favorite parts of our company and our business, and going on this journey, discovering people's passions and talents and gifts and how they're sharing them with the world to make people's lives better. And Be Well Health, I mean, how could we not be making someone's life better? How did you end up on the journey of nutrition coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I love kind of sharing my story because I think it's somewhat of a unique one. So I actually haven't been in this career my whole professional life. I was a data privacy professional for about 13 years.
Mhm.
And I came here through a very personal health journey. So back in May of 2015, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which, if you're not familiar with, is an autoimmune inflammatory bowel condition. And I was told basically, you have to be on medication the rest of your life. There's no cure, that's your only option. At the time, I had a 1-year-old and I was at the peak of my federal government career. And I thought, I don't have time to be sick. I'm just going to take the medication and go on with my life. Fast forward to fall of 2018, and I just felt bad. I was having migraines all the time. I was experiencing nausea, fevers. It wasn't great. I had 2 children, ages 4 and 2. So I just assumed, like any mother would, that I'm just catching whatever virus they're bringing home from daycare that day.
Mm-hmm.
But in December of 2018, I finally was fed up and I said, this is enough. I need to go to the doctor. I need to figure out what's going on. And so she did a bunch of blood work. And a few days later, on Christmas Eve, unfortunately, called me in a panic and said, your kidney levels are off the charts and we don't know what's going on. You need to go to the emergency room right away. So being optimistic, I thought, it's probably an error. I'll be back in a couple of hours. No problem. Unfortunately, it wasn't an error and my levels were still really high. So they admitted me, made me stay overnight. And
On Christmas Eve.
on Christmas Eve with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. Yes, it was so heartbreaking as a mom. And to just be scared and not like what's going on with my body. And so they let me go home the next morning without any answers. And I spent the next 3 or 4 weeks with doctor's appointments, blood tests, ultrasounds. Finally, I had a biopsy, and that determined that medication I was put on back in 2015 was actually causing an allergic reaction in my body, and it was causing permanent kidney damage. So I had to get pulled off that right away. And then I was kind of on my own to figure out, like, how do I manage my ulcerative colitis? How do I now navigate having someone like with impaired kidney function? What am I going to do? And that's when I just fell in love with nutrition. I changed my diet. I made, some lifestyle changes to really prioritize managing stress and really taking care of myself. And I just decided, like, that was it. I wanted to change my careers. I wanted to go all in, follow this as my profession so that I could help others make these types of changes before it's too late. And I went back to grad school. I got a master's in nutrition. I got a health coaching certification with a gut health specialization. And then I became a personal trainer to really like round out my wellness program. And I have dedicated these past 4 or 5 years of my life just all in on my own health and wellness and trying to reach as many people as possible.
Were you able to turn that corner with your own health? Are things on the right path now, I hope?
Yeah, things are on the right path. I do have some permanent damage that I have to deal with. And so, that's something that I live with on a day-to-day. My own personal journey with my ulcerative colitis is somewhat of a roller coaster, and I will, have some good months and bad months. A lot of that can be stress dependent. We lived through a pandemic these past couple of years, which was uber stressful for everyone. And so it's been a little bit of a roller coaster, but what I will say is that I'm only in the good position that I'm in because of all of those diet and lifestyle changes that I've implemented over these past several years.
So what's it like for someone to start working with you if they're like, okay, I mean, maybe they don't have a major health issue, but they're really frustrated with their circumstances as far as not feeling like they're
Right.
sure they're on a healthy path for
Right.
everything, and they're having some challenges one way or another. Where do you start, and what's that feel like for a customer experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will work with anyone who wants to improve their health and wellness through diet and lifestyle changes. And, you know, that being said, I do have a passion working for busy moms. That's who I am. That's who I resonate with. But again, anyone who wants to kind of take their health to that next level through like diet and lifestyle changes. I offer a couple of things. So I have a 6-month program that I work with people on really holistic wellness. So we start with dietary changes. I really heavily focus on nutrition. And then we go through the exercise piece. We focus on sleep and stress management, really looking at the holistic process. We meet virtually every other week via Zoom, so it's convenient for them to fit me in their busy schedules. Outside of that, I do offer some nutrition only packages, some personal training only packages. It really depends on where you are in your journey and what you're looking for. Some
Mhm.
people, want help with everything because they just feel like, maybe they've put their health on the back burner for so long and they just need help getting on that right path. Some people are really dialed in on their exercise, so they just want to focus on nutrition. So it really depends.
Mhm.
I try to customize and personalize my services as much as I can because everyone's unique.
Right. Right. And then I know there's lots of thoughts on blood. Some people think blood type has a factor, your hormone balance has a factor. Like there's all these hidden pieces that can definitely be a challenge. How do you work with
Yes.
them to face some of that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Those things all kind of play into it. It's your genetics, it's your
Mm.
environment. I mean, there's so many factors. And so I really, treat every person as this unique individual that they are. And it's really a partnership. Like I
Mm.
say, I might be the expert on nutrition and exercise and wellness, but you're the expert on you. And so we need to
Mhm.
work together. And there's some trial and error and there's some figuring it out.
Mhm.
But together we can usually come up with a good path that's going to work. Because not everyone has the same goals either, and so it's also meeting people where they are with their goals and really just looking at that whole picture.
Yeah, because I know the other thing that is something that's like an exploratory. Some people can go your whole lives and they don't necessarily have a food allergy, but they're calling them
Yes.
food sensitivities,
Yes.
and where that can keep you from achieving your goals as aggressively or quickly.
That's
You're
right.
almost like, you're taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps back without even realizing you're jeopardizing your own things. Now, interesting enough, I know in the past I've run across people who didn't know they were allergic to something, but just didn't like something strongly. And
Right.
then later on found out they were extremely allergic to that something. But that doesn't always happen because there
No.
are other people who really love a food that just makes
Yes.
them miserable and they keep eating it anyway.
Right. I think that happens more commonly than we would like to admit is,
Mhm.
people will say like, "Oh, I have these digestive systems," or "I feel this way every day." And then,
Mhm.
they eat that same food every day and it's like, "Oh, no, no, it can't be that. It must be something else."
Yeah,
So,
because it's my
it's a
favorite.
challenge. It's a
I don't
challenge, and
know.
a lot of times it's difficult to navigate that on your own, to try
Mhm.
to figure out like what is bothering me? How do I do an elimination diet properly?
Mhm.
And so having someone that can help guide you and coach you along the way, I think can be really helpful.
And then the whole concept of intermittent fasting baffles my brain too, because on one hand they say don't scare your body because then it'll be in starvation mode and it'll hold on to all
Right.
the fat and then you'll never lose weight. And the other hand, they're like, oh yeah, intermittent fasting, it's good for your organs, it's good for your brain, it's good, so
Right.
I just like, I mean, years ago they said eggs are terrible for you, don't eat eggs, and then now that every eggs are wonderful, eat eggs. I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard to navigate and sift through what's science and what's,
Mhm.
marketing or
Yeah.
gimmicky. And, I think I think, the biggest thing is to steer clear of anything that tells you it's like a one size fits all approach. Anyone that tells you something works for everyone, there's nothing that works for everyone. It's very bio-individual, which is why intermittent fasting can work for some people, but some people are better eating, 6 small meals a day, because our bodies are different. And so as long as you recognize that, I think it's okay to try different things, but if you just recognize, just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to necessarily work for you.
That's totally true. So is there anything else? Oh, I know. Is there something that you could share with everyone right now that they could do with their life that would help them be healthier or start their journey onto a healthier success plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of follow this model, what I like to say, eat well, live well, be well, kind of the 3 big components. And when I talk about eat well, it's, finding those right foods that work for you, but operating within these common, pillars of eating well, like eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, prioritizing lean proteins, make sure you're getting plenty of fiber, drinking enough water. And then from a live well perspective, it's, moving your body every day. That's really important. It doesn't mean you have to do this intense physical exercise. I mean, just going for walks, taking the stairs, playing with your kids, just be active. Managing your mental health through proper stress management, sleep, self-care. That's a really important cycle that we can get ourselves in a bad cycle where we're super stressed, then we're not sleeping, and then we're neglecting ourselves. And so then we're more stressed. But if you take control of that and you invest in those things, then you can get yourself on a much better path. And then when I talk about be well, I'm talking about your mindset, keeping positive, keeping motivated, not getting in your own way, and then having some accountability structure. Because I think that's one thing that people really lack is having that consistent accountability, because you might do well for a couple of weeks, but then you fall off because life happens. You get busy, a kid gets sick, or something happens at work. If you don't have that accountability structure, if you're not setting intentions for yourself or have an accountability partner or coach you're working with, then you're kind of on your own, and no one wants to do things on their own. You need a partner.
Well, and it's easier to slide off a promise to ourselves than it is to face someone else and say, "Oh, I dropped the ball here," and it does help because nobody wants to say that. So it does help keep you in check. I'm a big believer in accountability programs of all kinds. I'm actually launching a big new business one that's going to incorporate with the services that we provide clients. So yeah, I love that you include an accountability piece. So is there anything else about yourself or your business that you want to share before we move to the next thing?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, for me, I really enjoy working with people. I'm a big advocate for, preventative health, that you really need to invest in yourself. I always say, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Especially those of us that are parents, or we're managers, or we own our own businesses, right? We're responsible for so much. And those things are all wonderful. But if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not going to have as much to give. You're not going to, be able to perform as well and be able to take care of everything you need to take care of. And so I always encourage people, prioritize your health and wellness. You'll never regret doing it. And I love working with people one-on-one. I encourage people to check out my one-on-one programs. I also have an online course that I recently launched, which kind of takes my 6-month program and puts it into more of a DIY format, so people can work through it on their own time. You get a lot of the same great information, and you can implement it on your own schedule. So for some people, that works better. Some prefer the one-on-one coaching, but some people kind of want to work through it at their own pace. And so this gives them that option.
That's wonderful. That's exciting too.
Thank you.
So one of the big reasons we started Profound Professionals all those years ago was because we wanted to elevate and edify amazing individuals like you doing unique things in their industry and taking different approaches. But we also believe, I'm a big believer in cause marketing and taking a moment to step outside of something that's just about you or I, and that supports our community or the world in a bigger way, something bigger than us. And so we incorporated from the beginning of the series of Profound Professionals to talk about a cause that's close to our guest's heart. And you have a cause that you're going to share with us.
Yes. So I chose the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And that's obviously because, that's near and dear to my heart. I mean, having ulcerative colitis changed my life
Mhm.
between the issues I had with my kidneys off of the medication and just the roller coaster afterwards of trying to figure out, okay, now how do I navigate this disease without being able to take these medications? What do I do? And so when I say like it changed my life, I mean, as I shared, it really changed my life. It changed my career. It changed how I eat, how I care for myself. It really changed everything. And the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation is great because it first focuses a lot on research. So having, looking for a cure, having better, safer treatment options. It also focuses a lot on education, which I think is really important. So education, both for patients as well as healthcare providers. And then finally, it also provides support to individuals who are living with this disease. I mean, I feel fortunate. I wasn't diagnosed with this disease until I was 30. And that is still relatively young, but there are children that are diagnosed with these conditions. And that's really hard to navigate because they can't communicate what's going on with their body. And so it can be really challenging. And so I think, all of these services that this foundation offers is super important. It can be hard coping with any sort of chronic disease, and it could really weigh on you. And so having a foundation who's out there advocating and educating, I think is really great. They do all of their research and everything is done through grants and fundraising efforts and donations. And so I'm trying to play my part. I just recently joined their team challenge, which is a bike ride event that's going to be taking place in August. So I'm going to be working towards my fundraising goal over the next several months and hope that I can at least play a little part in the puzzle to give the foundation what it needs to hopefully find a cure one day, and certainly create better, safer options.
And is there a place on your website or a place on one of your social media platforms where they can support you on your bike ride to support this foundation?
Yes, that's a great idea. Not yet, but it will be.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
That's great. That would be wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, one of the things I think people forget that foundations and causes like this one you've mentioned does for people isn't just directly the person suffering from the disease. It's also the support that it gives the families that
Yes.
love people who are facing these challenges, because it can be very difficult to be on the outside looking in and
Right.
knowing how to support that person and how to respond and how to behave in a way that's, we all want to be loving and supportive, but sometimes when we're not going through it ourselves, it's like, really, and,
Right.
and we need that extra encouragement and toolkit, if you would, to be that supportive, loving person that we want to be all the time, 24/7, to this person
Absolutely.
who's going through this challenge that we can't completely understand because we're not going through it
Right.
ourselves. So that's pretty important. Now, everybody who watches my show knows I am nuts about books. I love and love and love books that will help make our lives better, that will help grow our businesses bigger, faster, and broader than ever before. And I'm creating the ultimate book list, and I'm doing that alongside of the help and support of the guests on my amazing podcast. So, Dianna, can you share with us a book that has inspired your life?
Yes. So I read this book relatively recently. It's called The Go-Giver. And if you're not familiar with it, it's this really like interesting story about, how to, as a business owner, or, someone in business, how the more that you invest in people around you, the more that you give, the more it's going to kind of come back to you in folds and in various ways. And it was really inspiring to me because as someone who's a relatively new business owner, there's just so much to learn. There's so much to navigate. There's so much of like, so many questions. And this was a really good, thing to read and understand, like, my services are for the good of other people. I want to reach as many people as possible. And so I want to find ways like, how can I give? How can I invest more in all those people around me? And so I really enjoyed it. It was a pretty easy, quick read. And I got a lot of good business nuggets out of it.
I love that, and we have a team of, because we have a virtual assistant membership program. So we have a team of many, many virtual assistants from all over the world. And from the very foundation and start of that program, I have been providing them training and support. And, we have a bonus structure program, and, we have things that encourage and reward and appreciate and elevate them. And that has been really incredibly rewarding for me. So I totally agree with that concept of the book. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
This has been so much fun, and I
This has
have
been
loved
great.
having you as a guest. Now, I would say to you, if you are a profound professional and you'd like to be on the show, please reach out to us. We would love to feature you and share you with all of our followers on our many platforms. And you know what? Even more important, you could be someone's hero. Share this with someone, and also introduce us to someone that you know that is a profound professional that should be featured on our show, because we would so love to have them. Now, before we say goodbye, I always ask our guests to share one final piece of information or inspiration with our audience. So, what do you have for us?
Yeah. So I think, when it comes to your health and wellness, I would say consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't need to make these big, drastic changes. We're talking about small changes that will snowball into big changes over time if
Mm-hmm.
you're consistent with it. So just, show up every day, understand that you're really investing in yourself, which is one of the most important investments you could ever make.
Mm-hmm.
And then as long as you stay consistent with it, that you're going to get to your goals.
I love that. And with your compliment of accountability earlier in the show, be consistent and have that accountability to partner to help you stay consistent. I can't see how you could lose. And especially if you reach out to Dianna and see how she can support you and cheer you on as a coach along the way. All right, everyone. As always, I am your host, Jessica Koch with Profound Professionals. And until next time, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.